So another middling week, going nowhere quickly, or slowly as it seems to be. We move into another international break, having dropped a bit further down the leaderboard. Things need to change. What are we going to do to arrest the situation? Well, we'll find out that next week. In the meantime, let's see if anybody is actually doing any good in this game. Surely there must be somewhere. Let's find out. Let's get into it. Hello everybody, welcome to midweek matchups from the Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show. Game week 11 review as everybody disappears off for the last international break of the calendar year, and then we'll be moving forwards into the festive period. Lots of game weeks to come, all the way through to the week after New Year I think, and then there's the FA Cup break after that. So umpteen game weeks to get stuck into, but we've got a little bit of a break first. Much ado about nothing with my team this week. We'll have a look at that in a minute. But there were some old haunts who came back to do well. You see on the screen there, we've got Bruno Fernandes and Isak. Bruno, he scored 17. He's 11% owned. Isak, he scored 11. He's 17% owned. Then the other three sort of poking through. We have Visser, Kuna and Pedro. Visser 1.6, Kuna 1.4 and Pedro 0.8, and they scored 14, 11 and 10 points respectively. So is there room to move forwards? Well, we'll have a look at that when we do the preview next week, but I have a feeling that Haaland or Mbeumo could be on the chopping block for my team. So without further ado, let's get into the team and see where we stood. So in goal we had Muric, who was actually my captain for the day. He scored 10 points on Sunday. Led in goals, scored, made some saves though. So on Saturday I had Romero. Oh, sorry. Yeah, he played on Sunday as well, didn't he, Romero? Robinson, 7 points. Van Heck, 3. Palmer on Sunday, 3. Saka, only the 2. Dibbling off the bench for 1. McNeil didn't play at all, so 0. Haaland with 9. Salah with a goal and assist on Saturday against Villa for 22. And Mbeumo, who got an assist on Saturday, I think. So let's have a look and see where we stand in the leaderboard. So we had a change this week. At one stage, neither of the Bailey brothers were on top, but they are back there. So Scott in the lead this time. He's on 1,080 points overall, 115 for the week, which is a pretty darn good score. Duncan in second on 1,058, who scored 87. Then we have Ben Parkin in third, Richard Fincham fourth, Kevin Wood fifth, Darren Malloy sixth, Barry Morrison 7th, Melvin Poole 8th, Neil Brooks 9th, and Dean Hicks in 10th. If we have a look at the game week scores, so best of the week was Keith Ledger, 122, well done. Phil Speck, good week Phil, well done, 118. So Scott Bailey, 115, third best scorer of the week, joint with Tony Richardson, sent him back to the top. Julian Davey with 109, Lee Kennedy 106, David Hurd 104, and then 2 there on around 100, Saeed Inai or Inal and Brian McCauley. Well done there. So let's have a look and see where these points were scored. Have a look at the match centres. So first game, there was no 12:30s this week. The TNT game was actually put back to 8 o'clock because Villa had played away at Bruges in the Champions League in midweek. So the first of the 3 o'clocks was Brentford 3, Bournemouth 2. So bonus points for Brentford. We had Damsgaard in the tackles with a tier 2. Nobody in the passing. Flecken only 1 save this week, so no bonus points for Flecken. First time this season, I think. And then in the shots, we had Janelt, Norgard, Jemson, Damsgaard with 1 each, Whistle with 2. And the goals were Damsgaard scored, Worcester scored twice, with assists from Janelt and Mbeumo. For Bournemouth, in the tackles, we had Cook, tier 1, Adams, tier 2. Nobody in the passing either. Kepa was back in goal. He made 3 saves for tier 1 bonus. And then the shots, Kluivert, Semenyo and Evan-Nielsen, all with tier 1. Goals from Kluivert and Evan-Nielsen, with Cook with the assist. Then Crystal Palace 0, Fulham 2. So tackles for Crystal Palace, we had Chalobah, Mitchell, Gehi, Devaney and Munoz, all with tier 1, 3 tackles each. Nobody in the passing. Saves, Henderson tier 3. Shots, Gehi tier 1. Munoz and Mateta both tier 2. No goals. And for Fulham, in the tackles, Iwobi tier 1 and Tete tier 2. In the passes, Bassi tier 1 just made it with 55. Anderson 77 for tier 3. Leno with 3 saves, so 11 pointer there. 4 saves, tier 2, 11 pointer. And in the shots, Smith Rowe and Iwobi with tier 1. Pereira and Nelson with tier 2. Goals from Smith Rowe and Wilson. 3 goals in 2 games, all off the bench. He's only played combined about 20 minutes, I think. Scored 3 goals in the last week. And assists from Iwobi and Jimenez. West Ham 0, Everton 0. Much ado about nothing from what I saw of this. So in the tackles, Emerson with tier 3. Nobody in the passing. Fabianski with 4 saves for tier 2. In the shots, Rodriguez, Somerville, Bowen and Antonio, all with tier 1. And Danny Ings off the bench with tier 2. For Everton, in the tackles, Branthwaite and Young, tier 1. And Dye with tier 2. Nobody in the passing again. Pickford 6 saves, so he got a 12-pointer for his owners. In the shots, Tarkovsky and Dye, Lindstrom and Calvert-Lewin, all with tier 1. Wolves 2, Southampton 0. So for Wolves in the tackles, Gomez, that's Tutti Gomez, tier 3. 3 for tier 1. 8 Nori with 4 for tier 2. Nobody in the passing. In the shots, Gomez, I think it's João Gomez, Cunha, Sarabia and Strand Larsen, all with tier 1. And the goals, Cunha and Sarabia with assists from Lamina and Cunha. So Cunha with an 11-pointer. Apologies to Dave, who asked about Cunha last week, and I think I managed to put him off. Sorry about that. Anybody, not a lot's gone right for me so far, to be fair. So for Southampton, tackles, tier 1 for Walker-Peters and Armstrong, tier 2 for Fernandez. And passes, Stevens and Walker-Peters both with tier 1. Bednarek and Harwood-Bellis with tier 3. And nothing for Ramsdale. And no shots on target. Then we came to the tea time kickoff. Brighton 2, Manchester City 1. So for Brighton in the tackles, Estupinan with tier 2. In the passes, Julio and Van Heck both with tier 2. For Bruggen with tier 3 saves. Shots for Matoma and Hinchelwood. And then off the bench, Pedro and O'Reilly with the goals and assists all off the bench. Pedro with a goal and an assist, and O'Reilly with a goal. For Manchester City, Walker with the tier 1 tackles. In the passes, we had Gvardiol tier 2, Simpson, Pusey, Walker and Kovacic all with tier 3. In the shots, Kovacic and Savinho tier 1, with Silva tier 1 off the bench. Haaland, who scored, with a tier 3 for a 9-pointer. And then the evening game, Liverpool 2, Aston Villa 0. So for Liverpool, In the passes, we had Robertson and McAllister, both with tier 1, Konate tier 2, and Van Dijk with tier 3. In the shots, Salah tier 1, Gakpo tier 1 off the bench, Nunez tier 3, and then goals, Salah and Nunez with a goal each, and Salah with the assist for Nunez's goal. For Aston Villa, in the tackles, Tielemans and Onana both with tier 1. Nobody in the passing, Martinez with tier 1 saves, Carlos and Onana with tier 1 shots. Then the Sunday games, Manchester United 3, Leicester 0. Lots of points here for Manchester United players. So in the tackles, we have Martinez and Dalot with tier 1, Fernandes with a tier 2, Mazraoui, Casemiro and Ugarte all with tier 3. In the passes, De Ligt tier 1, just with 55, Martinez with 71 for a tier 2. In the saves, Onana, 5 saves for a tier 3 for a 12-pointer. And in the shots, Fernandes tier 1, Diallo tier 1 and Garnacho off the bench tier 1. So goals for Fernandes and Garnacho. That was an own goal from Christensen. I was looking for the third goal there. And then assists, 2 from Fernandes and 1 for Diallo. For Leicester, tackles, tier 1 for Face, tier 3 for Justin. In the passes, Vestergaard tier 1, Samare tier 1 and Winks tier 2. And in the shots, Winks, Fatawo and Ayew tier 1 and Ndidi with tier 2. Nottingham Forest 1, Newcastle 3. Forest good run coming to a bit of an end. In the tackles for Forest, we had Milenkovic and Dominguez with tier 1. Tier 2s for Moreno, Murillo, Yates and Elanga. Nobody in the passing. In the shots, we had Murillo who scored, Dominguez and Yates all with tier 1. Sells with a tier 3, with 3 saves for a tier 1. So those that bought and kept Murillo scored an 11-pointer there for owners. For Newcastle, in the tackles, Joel Linton tier 1 and Longstaff tier 2. In the passes, Dan Burn, another one of 55 passes for a tier 1. Hall with 71 passes for a tier 2. In the shots, Burn, Guimaraes, Joel Linton, Isak, Gordon and Barnes all with tier 1. And the goals were shared around. We had Joel Linton, Isak and Barnes all scoring. Assists for Isak and Tonali. Where was this form when everybody had Isak at the start of the season? 11-pointer there for those that have held on to him. Tottenham 1, Ipswich 2. So this was probably the biggest shock of the weekend. Cost quite a few people in last man standings as well, including myself. So for Tottenham in the tackles, Bentancur, 7 tackles for tier 3. In the passes, we had Dragusin and Romero, both with tier 2. In the shots, Bentancur, who scored, tier 1. Son and Solanke, both with tier 2. That chance Solanke had at the end would have done his owners no good whatsoever. I thought he was going to score. So Bentancur scored the goal and Porro with the assist. For Ipswich, tackles, Johnson, tier 1. Nobody in the passes. Muric with 5 saves for a tier 3. Delap, tier 1 shots. Smodics, tier 2. So Delap scored and Smodics scored and Delap with the assist. Then the Super Sunday 4:30 with Chelsea 1, Arsenal 1. For Chelsea in the tackles, we had Cucurella, who was back in the starting lineup, and Caicedo, both tier 1. Then Fernandes off the bench with a tier 1. Only one Chelsea player in the passes was Colwill with 65 for a tier 2. And then in the shots, we had Neto, Palmer, Jackson, all with tier 1, and it was Neto who scored the goal, assisted by Fernandes. Then for Arsenal, in the tackles was Declan Rice, tier 1. In the passes, Gabriel, Saliba and Partey, all with tier 1. In the shots, Martinelli with tier 2, and Moreno off the bench for a tier 1. Goal was scored by Martinelli, assisted by Odegaard, who was back in the starting lineup. And you can only imagine that Arsenal's form is going to improve now that he is back. They've got a good fixture run coming along as well, so those that run Arsenal, I can expect good things moving forwards. So let's have a look at some points, see where everybody is on points now. So this is overall players. So at the top there, Erling Haaland still at the top with 106. Mo Salah on 100. Then Cole Palmer, 87. Virgil van Dijk, 84. Bryan Mbeumo, 76. That's the top 5. Then just down below those, we have Chris Wood, Josko Gvardiol, Bukayo Saka, Nicholas Jackson, Danny Welbeck still hanging around in the top 10 there. Mateo Kovacic, Christian Romero, Ibrahim Konate, doing really well now, 3.9 million. Andre Onana, best goalkeeper currently for Manchester United there. Ollie Watkins, Bruno Fernandes. If Amorim can get a tune out of Manchester United, I imagine that ownership and points is only going to go up, but he is quite expensive. Matheus Cunha into the top 20, 3.6. Jarrod Bowen, as previewed last week, I think he's going to be on the radar for a few with West Ham single game days. But 0-0 on the weekend. They were only playing Everton as well, so Luis Diaz there still in 19th, and Liam Delap, who at 2.5 at 60 points must be near the top on her points per million. We'll have a look at that on the preview next week. And for bonus points, so Kovacic still at the top, he's on 33 now, Romero on 32. Those two have been duking it out pretty much all season. Bednarek, 29, still doing well, very cheap, but Southampton, well, they've got one clean sheet all season, I think. Ruben Diaz is 4th and Haaland 5th. They're on 26 points each. Then Gvardiol, Virgil van Dijk, been improving. Flecken, didn't get any saves this week, so he's still on 22. Van Heck, another one that's cheap, 21. Bruno Fernandes, he's got passes, tackles and shots, now up to 21. Partey, 21. And then we've got Fion's 20 down to 18. Mo Salah, Lisandro Martinez and Ethan Pinnacle on 20. 3 on 19. So we've got Taylor Harwood-Bellis, another one from the Southampton, cheap, getting passing. Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes, all on 19. And then we have Muric, your host's goalkeeper, who's got 18 bonus points. Moses Caicedo and Daniel Munoz rounding out those on 18. Well, there's a wrap of everything that happened last week in Cloud Fantasy Football. We've got about 10 days or so now of international break until we get into Game Week 12 and the festive period. So for the rest of the content this week and early next, a couple of different things we're going to try. First of all, if I can get the slide to work, I thought we'd have a look and see how my team from way back when, looking at the state of that on the screen. I think that's from the first YouTube show we did, or certainly one that had my initial selection team on there. As you can see, Pascal Gross is still there. So I'm going to have a look and see how my initial thoughts, teams, it won't be identical to that obviously, but there was a couple that I did. I'll have a look and see, try and put a conglomerate of both together, an amalgamation if you will, rather than a conglomerate. See how that would have fared compared to how my current team has done. And then secondly, I've been working behind the scenes to do sort of a transfer planner for Dream Team, and we are beginning to see the end of the final stages, as it were. It's nearly ready to go, so I'm going to try and get that finished off, get it all prepared, and then we'll do a show sort of showcasing that. And Paul McAnulty of the former Sky Parish has allowed me to sort of showcase it with his team as well, so you can get an idea of how an experienced, good Dream Team manager is getting on this season compared to a novice like myself. Okay, so thanks very much for watching, everybody. If you've enjoyed the video, please leave it a like. If you want to subscribe to the show, please do. If you want to use the transfer planners, then you'll find that over on Patreon, patreon.com, Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show. Enjoy the international football. England play Greece, I think, and Republic of Ireland. I think they probably need 2 wins to qualify for promotion in the Nations League, if that's the kind of thing you're into. So enjoy that. Enjoy the rugby on the weekend. England will probably get beat again. They're playing South Africa, having lost to Australia and New Zealand. And as I say, we'll get these other 2 pods out later this week, early part of next week, and then we'll be back a week on Friday with Friday Night Live, which will be a look ahead to game week 12. All right, thanks everybody. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.